svet, ki ga ni, ker zvezde na nebu ljubezni žarijo nezamrane oči. Ko me pogledaš v oči, v ognju neskončnem telo zažari. Mlade oči so svetle luči, ki dolge noči spreminjajo jutra. V mladih očih veselje in smeh porajata vedre srčne dni. Mlade oči so vsake oči, ki v njih plameni svetloba pomladi. Dobrim ljudem in mladim očem verjela bi vse, zares prav vse. Mlade oči so vsake oči, ki v njih plameni svetloba pomladi. Dobrim ljudem in mladim očem verjela bi vse, zares prav vse. Verjela bi vse, zares prav vse.
No, živijo! Slišimo vsi. Super.
Mislim, ni kot baterija polna.
Ne, takrat
Bomo pa kapela. No, živijo še v mojem imenu in bom se malo povezoval ta dogodek. Dobar dan in dobrodošli na predstavitvi in lansiranju nove linije prehranskih dopolnil Neubria iz Velike Britanije. Zdaj, kot se spodobi, začeti bom povabil svoje odgovorno osebo, ko nas je vse danes spravlja sem, ali smo hoteli, ali ne. Tako da bom zdaj na oder za en kratek nagovor povabil gostiteljico, direktorico in lastnico podjetja Novega Vala, d.o.o., ki je pripeljala podjetje Neubria v Slovenijo. Tako da zdaj hočem en velik aplavz.
No, evo, jaz sem že so značil. Dobar dan in dobrodošli vsi skupaj. Res sem hvaležna vsakemu izmed vas, da ste danes tukaj, da skupaj ponesemo Neubrio v Slovenijo. Kako se je vse skupaj začelo? Moj prijatelj Punet iz Londona mi je poslal povabilo, da naj si pogledam te izdelke in če sem pripravljena sodelovati z njimi v Sloveniji. In sem rekla, ne še neki. Potem pa je bil vztrajan in mi poslal še en video, pa še en prospekt, pa en video call in vedno bolj me je navduševal. In potem sem dobila izdelke v roke in to je bila ljubezen na prvi pogled. Stvari, ki jih ima Neubria, so direkt zame. Se pravi, fokus, vsi rabimo fokus v življenju, vsi rabimo dober spanec, vsi rabimo dobro energijo, dober spomin in pa dobro počutje. Kaj lahko še več damo Slovencem kot dobre izdelke. Tako da še enkrat hvala vsakemu izmed vas, da ste danes tukaj z mano in da ponesemo Neubrio v Slovenijo. Hvala lepa.
Ja, še ena kratka video predstavitev o samem podjetju.
We value living, brighter living, with brighter minds. Your brain is central to everything you do, everything you know, everything you can become. We strive to help your brain shine brighter, so you don't just remember, you revisit. You don't just exist, you experience. For too long, brain health has been overlooked. Using cutting-edge science, we enable brighter memory, performance, motivation, and mood to drive fundamental change. A paradigm shift, empowering you to live your best life and master your moments. Neubria, bright mind living.
No, zdaj smo si malo pogledali video, vsi so bili zelo veseli gor, tako da... No, mislim, ne bomo tukaj nič odlašali, zdaj v naslednjem delu bomo malo slišali o samih ljudeh iz tega podjetja. Nekaj majhnega od njih, ko bojo zdaj prišli na sam oder. Kot prvega imamo tukaj Mike Walkmana, ki je farmacevt in zdravstveni strokovnjak že s 30 leti v industriji naravnih izdelkov. Je magistriral iz farmacevtske analize, prehranske medicine in klinične onkologije. Je redni sodelovalec potrošniških in strokovnih znanstvenih revij. Leta 2009 je bila njegova raziskava o zdravstvenih koristih naravnih izdelkov izbrana za promocijo letne znanstvene konference Britanskega kraljevskega farmacevtskega združenja. Je pridružen član Royal College of Medicine and Guild of Health Writers. Tako da, kar se tiče same strokovnosti, imamo tukaj več kot zadost. Zdaj pa njegov partner John Kennedy je ustanovitelj in lastnik družbe Neubria. Je nekdanji profesionalni igralec ragbija, pri komaj 21 letih je bil prisiljen nehati s samim igranjem, saj je utrpel več pretresov možganov. Zato ga je pot peljala v poslovni svet, zato tudi je danes tukaj. V sodelovanju s priznanimi strokovnjaki z področja nevroznanosti, prehrane in človeške zmogljivosti je razvil vrsto znanstveno podprtih izdelkov na rastlinski osnovi, ki so za podporo ključnim področjem zdravja in zmogljivosti. John je danes kot ustanovitelj in izvršni direktor Neubria vodi strateško rast in samo razvoj podjetja. Zdaj jih bom povabil na oder, jaz se bom potrudil, kaj se da najboljš, da prevajam, da dobiste vsaj ključne informacije. Zdaj pa prosim za eno, now I please one big applause for Mike Walkman and dobro.
Thank you very much. Firstly, thank you, Mihaela, for setting this up and launching our lovely business and brand in Slovenia, which is a magnificent country. It's the first time I've visited, and it is absolutely beautiful and beautiful people as well.
Mislim, da ste vsi zelo veseli.
To start off, because you're probably wondering, what does Neubria mean? Well, Neubria is a made-up name by us. It's broken up into two sections. NEU, which is an abbreviation for neuron in the brain, but it also means new in German. And Bria, which means strength, and it's Celtic for strength, and Celtic's very close to my heart because I am Scottish. But it also symbolizes the synergistic connection between the mind and the body.
Samo ime je malo izmišljeno, kot je rekel, in sestavljeno iz dveh stvari, iz neu, ki je neuron, ali pa sama misel, ali pa po nemško nov, in bria, ki nekako se navezuje na keltski jezik, kateri je blizu njemu, ker je škot in pomeni sam moč. Tako da skupaj se vse skupaj navezuje te dve stvari, kakor sami izdelki, ki jih imajo oni, je neka sinergija.
So just to give you a bit of a background as to my story and the reason that Neubria has come about, it was always my dream as a child to be a professional rugby player. Rugby in England is very big, and in my family it's very big, so it was always my dream. And I always feel, even to this day, it's only partly fulfilled my dream. I went on to play for professional rugby. I played under 16s at England, under 18s England, and then very controversially played under 20s for Scotland, because Scotland and England have a big clash. And then, my career got cut short due to repetitive concussions, which is prevalent in rugby. And there is nothing to cure concussion, so I had to retire from the game at 21 years old. And I've suffered from a lot of mental health issues, but also what my purpose was in the world if my dream had not been fulfilled.
Kot sem že povedal, do prej 21 je mogel nehati s kariero ragbija, bila je njegova velika strast, ki je bila le delno potešena. Tako da nekako ni vedel, kam naprej, trpel je velike neke posledice, čustvene, psihične, kot same posledice pretresov možganov, tako da bolje se je nekako podal v poslovni svet.
But I had my first child and I realized that my brain is very fragile and I need to look after my brain. There's only one thing I can do, and that's look at my lifestyle and look at my diet. And when I went into a Holland & Barrett store over in the UK, there was nothing for brain health. I was advised to take lots of different individual ingredients, your multivitamins, coenzyme Q10, citicoline, plant botanicals, individually. And before you know it, you've got all these different ingredients that you have to take as a single ingredient. There was nothing combined together as a solution for brain health.
Ja, ko je končal kariero, seveda je gledal, kaj zdaj ne naredim za vse te težave, ki jih imam jaz. In nikjer ni dobil točno neke lahke rešitve, vsi so mu predpisali, vzajte milijon različnih sestavin. Ni bilo neke skupne sestavine, ki bi bilo združeno v eni tableti, ki bi sinergistično delovalo. Tako da, ker bo povedal naprej, se je sam odločil, da bo nekaj takega proizvedel.
So that's where the idea of Neubria was born. And I obviously looked at all the different lifestyle problems and issues that you may have, that anyone may have with sleep, focus, memory, which is obviously related to Alzheimer's, mood, energy, all these issues. And I was fascinated by what I saw. I met Mike Wakeman at an exhibition in 2017 when I was very hungover. Mike, I'll tell the story. I spoke to Mike about the opportunity and what I was looking to do, and Mike thought, with his background in nutritional medicine, that was a great opportunity to create a suite of products to make the public's lives better, consumers' lives better.
Kot sem prej rekel, ta je bila glavna odločitev za samo ustanovitev podjetja. Pred 5 leti je spoznal Majka tukaj, tisti, ki že poznaste, je bil malo premačkan takrat, da je sama Majk povedal to zgodbo in sama ste se odločili nekako narediti to linijo izdelkov, ki bo služila temu izzivu, neke skupne sinergije, nekih sestavin za mentalno, čustveno zdravje.
But as good as Mike is, we had to look in other fields of science to make sure we're covering everything. And if we go on to the next slide. Here. So we recruited a professor of human performance who's based out of North Carolina. He performs specifically clinical trials on botanical ingredients for human performance. We also have a neuroscientist looking at it from an academia point of view with the brain. She is a PhD graduate from the University of Cambridge. She also studied in Oxford as well. So it's good to have two different angles, as well as Mike coming from his nutritional medicine and pharmacy background, vetting all the products, ensuring that all the ingredients are very effective, they have efficacy behind them, and they endorse the products.
Ja, sama njihova linija izdelkov sloni na izjemnem znanju strokovnjakov. Imajo profesorja Nimana, ki opravlja klinične študije na samih sestavinah, kot tudi Julia Gottwald, ki je vsa nevroznanstvenica, ki pa bolj teoretično preko nekih znanstvenih revij potrjuje enako in seveda sam Majka, ki ga bomo potem slišali, ko prihaja iz sama prehranskega območja, ki nekako dela vse drugo hkrati.
Okay, we'll go into the science a bit later, but now we'll go into the brand. As a brand, As a brand, this is what we represent. This is our consumer truth. This is the hook for consumers, because a busy modern world is full of competing demands. I think we can all agree with that. Meaning mental and physical health is often hard to prioritize. And this is what we promise as a brand. We want to help you and your mind achieve more every day.
No, kakor piše, njihov slogan je samo življenje je polno velikih zahtev in da moramo vsem hkrati dati dovolj pozornosti. Njihov glavni moto je, da samo podjetje bo van s linijo teh izdelkov pripomoglo doseči več.
I think just to sum up before we go into the science with Mike, as a rugby player, it's very much about physical health and lifting in the gym, and thinking about your physical fitness. And from a performance point of view, the mental and emotional side of performance was neglected. And I believe from a performance angle, not just nutritional angle, there's a big opportunity in the world to spread the word about Neubria and the connection between the mind and the body, and how we're trying to synergistically connect both with our products and our brand.
Ja, kot sam njegovo ozadje iz ragbija, kjer je veliko poudarek na neko fizičnost, na telesno pripravljenost, zdaj nekako je tudi dodatek same glave, same miselnosti telesa, ne ta sklop telesa in misli, da deluje sinergistično, da dobi kar da najboljše rezultate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny, and thank you for a very warm welcome. As Johnny said, this is our first time in Slovenia, and we love it. And unfortunately, we're going to come back.
Ja, spet sam hvalijo nas, ne. Bojo prišli še nazaj.
So basically, if we look at I thought I'd look at the importance of food and brain structure to start off with. And if we look at food and the impact that it can have on brain structure, we know that certain foods are inflammatory, certain foods are non-inflammatory, so it can affect the inflammatory processes that occur in the brain. Certain foods will help with brain development. Foods will obviously are involved in the development of proteins as well within the brain. And then there are certain compounds in food that affect memory and cognition. And then there's things like signaling networks, neurotransmitters that are also important. And also, importantly, one of the things I think, I went to a lecture one time and they said, you've got to remember, food is information for cells. And we all think it's just to feed the body or the mind. But this idea that it's information for cells is very important. So it switches on genes, which is very important as well.
Ok, sam je dal nek poudarek na hrano, katera postaja zmeraj bolj pomembna te čase. Veliko hrane povzroča vnetje ali pa pripomore k delovanju možganov, k samosignaliziranju, kot tudi neka informacija za celice, ki se sploh dogaja, tako da lahko sama hrana nekako pripomore k delovanju določenih encimov, sploh izražanje nekih encimov. Tako je glavni poudarek bi tukaj bil, da hrana je veliko več, kakor samo energija. Informacija pripomaga k samemu razvoju telesa in delovanju.
So if we look at macronutrients, obviously proteins are important in terms of developing hormones, neurotransmitters. If we look at fat, obviously they're important in terms of hormones as well, but also very important in terms of cell membranes within the brain. And also if we look at carbohydrates, the brain is probably the organ in our body which consumes more energy than anything else, so it's very important to have a good source of good carbohydrates. And we know that all these impact upon things like perception, learning, memory and language.
Tukaj vsi poznamo tri najbolj pomembne skupine hranilne. Imamo beljakovine, ki gradijo naše mišice, praktično vse encime v našem telesu, mehanizem, kako naše telo deluje, same maščoba, ki je gradnik celic samih membran, in ogljikovih hidratov, ki so energija, in vsi vemo, naši možgani porabijo daleč največ energijo od vseh delov našega telesa. In poleg tega imamo pa tudi še veliko mikrohranil, o katerih bo po mojem še veliko povedal.
So it's very important that we have good sources of these types of macronutrients. Then if we look at micronutrients, well, if we look at an unhealthy aging brain, we know that too much alcohol is damaging. We also know that a bad diet can affect, with low levels of micronutrients, can affect gut function and the microflora. And these micronutrients can also impact upon things like neuroplasticity, how well our brain cells function, in terms of neurotrophic support, in terms of how well they interconnect with one another. In terms of things like lifestyle, they're clearly important in terms of extending lifespan, cognition and neurodegeneration. So if we have a lot of unhealthy micronutrients and unhealthy diets, it leads to an unhealthy aging brain. Whereas clearly, if we convert these into healthy sources of nutrients, especially micronutrients, we can reverse this healthy aging brain, or at least, reverse this unhealthy aging brain, or at least slow down the progress in which it deteriorates.
No, glavno, kar lahko tukaj vzamemo, takrat Slovenci težko to slišimo, alkohol ne pomaga našem organu. Tako da slab vnos alkohola, slaba prehrana, slab vnos nekih mikrohranil, vse pripomore k slabo neuroplastičnosti, se pravi odzivnosti naših možganov, samega življenjskega roka, samo mišljenje, samo delovanje možganov. In na drugi strani pa imamo seveda, če vnašamo neke pravilna hranila v sebe, pravilno hrano, pravilni način življenja, s tem izboljšamo vse druge aspekte, naše mišljenje, počutje, življenjski rok.
So those are the underlying principles that we started with in developing Neubria. Johnny's now going to talk you through the way in which we approach that.
So I spoke to you about how rugby is very much focused on physical performance, and they neglect mental and emotional. And I quickly noticed when I looked into the supplements world, it was very, very similar. And traditionally, you know, it was taking a one ingredient, one target approach to fill nutritional deficiencies, and that's where we see the opportunity.
No, kot je rekel Zarabi, da je zelo enosmeren, kar se tiče same fizičnosti in zanemarja druge poglede, je tudi, kadar je pogledal sam svet prehranskih dopolnil, videl enako napako. Veliko je te enosmernosti in ena sestavina za en problem. In nekako bo razložil, zakaj, ko je hotel to spremeniti.
So instead, we needed to leverage the full complexity of Mother Nature and devise a new approach to tackle multifaceted health problems.
In porabiti celoten aspekt mati narave, se pravi vse možne sestavine, ki jih upamo pridobiti za te probleme, ki so kompleksne v sami naravi, tudi nekako bolj kompleksno napademo.
So we now introducing synology. And this is the complex at the heart of all of our formulations. It stands for synergistic technology, and it's using unique combinations of scientifically proven ingredients to simultaneously support multiple pathways in the mind and body, offering superior therapeutic results.
Njihova rešitev je bila tako imenovana, kot piše, sinologija, neka sinergija tehnoloških procesov, kjer z različnimi sestavinami napademo ta problem preko glave in samega telesa, da dosežemo ta pozitivni učinek na bolj kompleksen način, kot naprimer samo pod ene sestavine, ki deluje ali ne deluje.
So in a simple way, it's multi-ingredient, producing multi-targets on the mind and body, and that produces multi-benefits with superior results.
Nekako na isti način ponavljajo več sestavin, ki producirajo boljši učinek. Sestavine, ki že same po sebi ena z drugo delujejo sinergistično, ni samo nek skupek nametanih učinkov in ko bolje ne bo, ampak so posebno izbrane za določen učinek.
And this is how we communicate our products and our science to consumers, to make it to simplify, because we have so many ingredients with so many purposes. This simplifies it for consumers and for pharmacists, doctors as well.
Ja, in pač njihov glavni namen nekako skrajšati, narediti vse bolj pristopno kot za same lekarne in nas kot uporabnikov.
So I think we'll go on to show you synology in each product with Mike.
Okay. Thanks, Johnny. So, if we look at this idea that Johnny's talked about, when we looked at the different need states that Johnny identified, if you look at the underlying pathologies of those conditions, it isn't just one thing that leads people not to sleep. So in some people, as we know, people get older, they produce less melatonin. So there's an argument of increased melatonin production in the brain. But if you give melatonin as a synthetic melatonin, the half-life of melatonin is only about 30 to 45 minutes. And the peak production in the brain, when you need more melatonin to help you to sleep, is at about 2 o'clock in the morning. So if you take melatonin at 10 o'clock, it's nearly all gone by 11 o'clock, and you need it at 2 o'clock, it's going to have no effect. So it helps you to fall asleep, but it doesn't help you to stay asleep.
No, tukaj bom imel njihov izdelek, ki pripomore k boljšemu spanju. Sam je poudaril na samo vlogo melatonina, ki je dobro dokazano, da pomaga pri samem spanju. Glavni problem tega dopolnila je, da ima melatonin kratko življenjsko dobo, se pravi po nekaj pol ure ga praktično ni več. Problem je, če ti greš spat v 10-11, ti vzameš to dopolnilo, je praktično do polnoči ga ni več. Problem tukaj je, kako ta melatonin spravi tudi v zadostnih količinah, ko se uporablja najbolj je potreben okrog 2 zjutraj, takrat ga telo največ proizvede, takrat je najbolj uporabno. Spravi tukaj je problem, kako ga dostaviti v pravem času.
And then if you look at traditional hypnotics, prescription hypnotics, they all have an effect on GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, which is a neurotransmitter in the brain that dampens down brain activity. So traditionally, prescription medications impact upon this neurotransmitter. But as we know, those sorts of medications are fraught with dangers. Addiction, people not able to wake up very well in the morning, and especially with older people, they go into a deep sleep, and if they have to get up in the middle of the night, they very often are prone to accidents. So although that's a focus of where you might want to have an effect, using prescription medications isn't necessarily the solution.
Drugi aspekt dobrega spanja, se pravi GABA, to je neurotransmiter, ki deluje v možganih. Tukaj je številno problemov, ker večinoma predpisanih zdravil, ki delujejo na to, lahko imajo zelo slabe učinke. Lahko pride do same zasvojenosti. Ljudje, ki se zbujajo po noči, če so na predpisanih zdravilah, so lahko pride do nesreč, zelo hitro so lahko bolj omotični. Tako je samo delovanje preko predpisanih zdravil na to področje zelo nevarno, ker kot sem omenil, pride do številnih posledic.
So some people may also have an issue with things like depression and anxiety. So for some people it may be that, for some people it may be that, for some people it may be that, but for most people it's probably a bit of all of those that impact upon their ability to sleep. And that's the sort of idea that we talked about in terms of synology, understanding the underlying pathologies, looking to see what might drive a problem, and then providing natural solutions for them.
Še en aspekt, ki ga omenil, je samo razpoloženje, depresija. Veliko od nas lahko ima problem s spanjem in problem je ponovadi ni enostaven, ni ponovadi eden izmed treh, ampak neka kombinacija. In samo njihov izdelek tako kompleksno se približa temu problemu, da nekako probi dobiti neko kombinacijo, da rešijo skupek vseh treh problemov.
So if we look at the ingredients that we've got in these formulations, we've got natural sources of a melatonin precursor, tryptophan. We've also got things like botanicals, like saffron, magnesium and vitamin D, all upregulate melatonin production at the right time, so that they're a natural source for melatonin substrates to be upregulated when you need them most in the middle of the night.
Ja, kot na melatonin nam vplivajo s triptofanom. Velik plus, kar smo prej omenili zaradi samega razgrajevanega roka, to je predhodnik melatonina in se tako bolj pozneje sprošča, imajo žefran, magnezij in sam vitamin D.
Then if we look at GABA, GABA modulation instead of synthetic pharmaceuticals, we use natural products, so we use botanicals which affect GABA modulation, so things like chamomile, hops, saffron and lemon balm, which are all non-addictive and which are natural modulators of GABA production. So they're natural sources of botanical ingredients that can affect GABA modulation.
Za samo problem GABA so tukaj pristop izjemno rastlinski, kamilica, žafran, limona, kamilica. Tako je vse neke rastlinske sestavine, katere so nezasvoljive.
So, in looking at things like mood and anxiety, we've got things like there in tryptophan, which is a very beneficial antidepressant. We've got vitamin D, which has been shown to have antidepressant effects, as has saffron, as has folic acid. And then things like lemon balm and magnesium have been shown to be very beneficial for anxiety. And you'll notice this synology works not only in terms of the underlying pathologies, but also some of the ingredients that we've got in there. So saffron upregulates melatonin, it affects GABA modulation, and it also helps to relieve depression as well. So that's what we mean by synology. And this is all backed up, as Johnny said, by a lot of research into the literature, into the peer-reviewed literature, to find the best combination of ingredients that we can include in a formulation that is going to have a benefit in terms of things like sleep.
No, kot tisti, ko se da prebrati veliko teh sestavin, vpliva na vse tri probleme. In to je njihov pristop, da vključijo številne sestavine, ki nekako napadijo vse tri probleme, ki lahko pridejo pri slabem spancu.
So that just gives you a brief introduction to what synology is. I'm not going to go into this much detail with all of the products, but hopefully you can understand the rationale and the thinking behind these products and the reason that and the way that they've been put together. And in fact, we have done a clinical trial on this product, Drift. It was a double-blind placebo-controlled study, and we used validated questionnaires and movement analysis equipment to be able to measure people's movement when they were asleep. So you can see that they ended up in terms of a 14% improvement in terms of the ability to fall asleep, and that's exactly the same that you get with melatonin. They increased their sleep duration by over half an hour, and these were all healthy individuals. They're all students, so they weren't people with insomnia. These were just people who took the product to see what effect it had in healthy people. There was an improvement in sleep efficacy, and then during the day we found that people were more alert and more awake, so they had enjoyed a better night's sleep. And also the assessments that we did looking at sleep quality showed a 10% improvement in sleep quality as well. So hopefully that demonstrates that not only is the science robust in terms of the way the products being put together, but they also work.
Izvedli so tudi neko pravo raziskavo, dvojno slepo, s placebo kontrolirano, in na koncu ugotovili neko 14% napredek. Povprečno so imeli pacienti 36 minut daljši spanec, spravi boljši spanec, bolj učinkovit spanec, tudi čez dan opazili po njihovih besedah 10% izboljšanje same kvalitete in samega razpoloženja.
So it's our intention to do these sorts of studies with all of the products that you see here. Unfortunately, COVID occurred, as we know, which stopped everything for 2 years. So a lot of the universities that we were using, we couldn't recruit students, we couldn't recruit participants. But it's our intention to carry on and do these sorts of studies for all of the products to demonstrate efficacy.
Ja, mislim, da tukaj ni bil sam poudaril še enkrat, da njihov pristop je izjemno znanstven, ne samo mečejo neke sestavine skupaj v eno kapsulo, ampak vse, kar je noter, potrdijo, da je tam z namenom.
So, if we look at things like focus, for example, the important areas here are things like neuroplasticity, the way in which neurons interact with one another, the connections that they develop with one another. And you can see here we've got things like bacopa. I know I was talking earlier to a few people, and bacopa is a really nice ingredient, a nice botanical to include in there because it really does have beneficial effects in terms of neuroplasticity. We've also got ashwagandha, blueberry, we've got citicoline as a source of choline, and things like ginkgo biloba, and there's caffeine in there and rosemary, which all help in this neuroplasticity, this interrelationship between different neurons to strengthen mental ability.
Njihov drugi izdelek se posvečam bolj sami miselni ostrosti, če lahko se tako izrazim. Njihov glavni napad na problem je ta neuroplastičnost, te povezave med nevroni. Sam izdelek vsebuje vse od ekstraktov borovnic, citokolina, ginkgota in en kup drugih sestavin, po mojem, kot lahko navduši sam farmacevte.
And then if we look at cognitive flexibility is also very important in terms of focus. So this ability to switch tasks very quickly, to have this sort of flexibility in our thinking is very important. And again, you can see that things like bacopa, ginkgo, multivitamins, citicoline and rhodiola have all have been demonstrated to have a benefit there. And then clearly, people who are in a stressful environment, who want to focus well, need to be able to be resilient to stress, and they also need to be able to cope with that stressful situation. I don't know where you are at the moment in Slovenia, but all of our students at the moment are doing their A-levels, they're doing their exams, and that's a really stressful time. So this is perfect for those students who, well, even when they're studying, looking to focus, but also for people, executives in a stressful environment, to help them to focus as well.
Ja, del tega izdelka je tudi neki napad ali pa pomoč pri samim možganski odpornosti, ne vsi, še posebej s tem COVID-om. Večina od nas si nekako praviš, da si na koncu vrline. In sam ta izdelek bi pomagal k sami odpornosti, da si bolj odporen na stres, na vsakodnevski stres, kot jaz že kot sem študent, mislim, da bi to kar pomagal.
And for those of you that can't sleep and if drift doesn't work, then I send you all the references to support this. There's about 150 references, so that will help you to definitely go to sleep.
No, kot ti bom povedal, da če tisti kdorkoli rabi spanec, tukaj bomo poslal enih 100 referenc, katere če si jih preberete, boste gotovo lepo spali.
Then if we look at energy, clearly we need to support mitochondrial function, the powerhouses of energy within the cells. So we've got B vitamins in there, things like vitamin B5, B6 and folate. We need to be able to adapt to stress. So this is an area that's becoming very popular at the moment, adaptogens, these natural compounds which help the body to adapt to stress very effectively. And then we also need to have ingredients in there that boost the natural source of energy within the body. And there we've got things like cocoa, green tea, theanine and guarana. Now, as you know, guarana is a source of caffeine, but it's a natural source of caffeine. So you end up with the caffeine being released much more slowly because it's in a plant matrix, and the effect of that caffeine lasting for longer as well. And there are also other ingredients in guarana that enhance all the benefits of caffeine, so the alertness, the focus, that add to to the benefits of caffeine that's in guarana. Interestingly, theanine, if you combine theanine with guarana, you end up enhancing even more the benefits of the caffeine that's in guarana. And the other benefit of adding theanine in there as well, a lot of people can't take caffeine because they end up with tachycardia and they end up with jitters. And by adding theanine and guarana together, you end up not only improving all the benefits of the caffeine that's in guarana, but you end up dampening down all of the side effects that are associated with caffeine. So that's a synology within a synology.
Njihov naslednji izdelek je namenjen sami proizvodnji energije. Tukaj so prisotni B-vitamini, ki pomagajo pri sami funkciji mitohondrije v naših celicah in sami drugi energetiki, ki pomagajo pri sami proizvodnji, kakor je kakao, zeleni čaj, teanin in guarana. Tu so vse neke rastlinski, naravno prisotni kofeini. Zdaj številni ljudje imajo problem s kofeinom, ker jim povzroči hitro utripanje srca. Glavni plus tukaj je pa, da vse te sestavine nekako umirijo samo sproščanje kofeina, da je ta telo sproščen bolj počasi in s tem zmanjšamo te stranske učinke. Sama guarana in teanin pa imata ta lepo sinergijo, da je ta kofein sproščen na še bolj poseben način, ki pripomore zmanjšanju stranskih učinkov kot same povečanju pozitivnih učinkov kofeina, kot je sama večja pozornost, večji občutek energije.
And then if we look at mood, clearly neurochemical pathways are important, so serotonin pathways are important, and you can see there we've got a lot of ingredients in there, vitamins and minerals and botanicals that have a beneficial effect in terms of increasing levels of serotonin. Also, in people who suffer from depression and low mood, there's also a lot of evidence to demonstrate that they are deficient in certain micronutrients, so things like vitamin D, B vitamins, choline, especially magnesium. And if you supplement people who are depressed and have low levels of these micronutrients with those things like vitamin B vitamins and vitamin D, then you do elevate their mood so you can relieve the depression. And then you've got things like stress and anxiety which can contribute to depression as well. So we've got ingredients in there, things like saffron and ashwagandha, and these adaptogenic botanicals that can help to support stress and anxiety. And with things like saffron, we were talking earlier today that saffron has been demonstrated to be as effective as a lot of the prescription antidepressants, and clearly you've got all the benefits of relieving the depression without any of the side effects that are traditionally associated with prescription medicines. Things like addiction, for example. People who are on SSRIs, for example, have great difficulty coming off them. So this is a perfect solution for people who have low mood and want to try and overcome that before they sort of move on to the heavy stuff, really. And we've had some fantastic testimonials from patients who've tried this, and it's changed their lives. We had one this week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Njihov naslednji izdelek je pa bolj usmerjen v samo razpoloženje. Tukaj je veliko sestavin, neki glavni poudarek je na nekih kovinah. Zdaj veliko ljudi, ki trpi z slabim razpoloženjem ali depresijo, velikokrat imajo samo neko pomanjkanje nekih mikrohranil, nekih mikrokovin, ker imamo cink in take stvari. Velik poudarek je dal na prisotnost žafrana, ki ga je nekako primerjal, da velikokrat je lih toliko učinkovit, kakor nekatera predpisana zdravila, ki jih dobimo na recept za zdravljenje depresije in nekaj takega. In s tem dobiš neki naravno zdravljenje brez nekih stranskih učinkov in nevarnost zasvojenosti, ki jo dobiš pri nekih predpisanih zdravilih. Povedeš tudi, da dobijo veliko nekih takih pričanj od njihovih strank, ki pravi, da so čudovite, da je tako močno in izboljšajo razpoloženje.
So then if we look at memory, Neubria spark, things like oxidative damage are particularly prevalent in terms of people who have have poor memory. We talked earlier about the brain consuming so much energy that creates a lot of free radicals in the brain. So you need a high level of antioxidants to soak those up. So oxidative damage has been shown to be linked quite strongly with poor memory. Mitochondrial dysfunction, because the brain is so active, we need to support the mitochondria in the brain cells, and things like B vitamins, vitamin D, magnesium, citicoline and coenzyme 10 are there for that reason. And also things like neurodegeneration and inflammation are often seen to be causative in people who have things like Alzheimer's disease. And so we've got ingredients in there, things like turmeric, bacopa again, and ashwagandha, that seem to have a benefit in terms of reducing neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration.
Tale izdelek je bolj namenjen samemu spominu. Glavni problemi tukaj pridejo, ker so naši možgani tako aktivni, toliko energije porabijo, pridejo do veliko teh oksidativnega stresa, kar povzroči neko vnetje, samo obrabo možganov, samo propad nevronov in s tem slabšanje spominja, slabšanje same kognitivnih procesov. Tako da sam izdelek vsebuje veliko teh antioksidantov, ki to preprečijo, s tem ohranjajo delovanje možganov, ohranjajo nevrone in s tem samo delovanje. Veliko vitaminov, A, B, C, D, magnezij, cink, bakr, selen, vse, kar nekako pomaga, da so naši možgani zaščiteni in lahko delujejo, kar se da najboljše.
So all this information is summarised in the materials that you have at the back of the room there, which have been superbly translated by Mihaela and her team, so thank you for that, fantastic. And we also have things like for pharmacists, for example, for GPs, we also have things like sleep diaries, which are beneficial for people to monitor their sleep before they use, for example, drift, and then to see what benefits they've experienced when they do take drift.
Vse informacije, ki jih je zdaj povedal, so prisotne v priročnikih kot zadnje, ki so bile prevedene od strani Mihaele. Jaz, kar se da, sem vam najbolj na hitro to prevedel, tako da vam priporočam, da si sami preberste, da boste razumeli znanost in trud, ki ga oni vložili.
Now, we've had some fantastic food since we've been here, and it appears that not everyone in Slovenia eats as well as we do. So this was a survey that was carried out in 2013, and this was the result that less than 5% ate healthy nutritional diets. So if you go back to that very first few slides that I put up there, a big cross there. Only 22% considered to be acceptable their diet, and 62% of people had unhealthy diets.
Ja, spet nas hvali, tokrat našo hrano. Sam pa kratko meni, da še zmeraj velik del naše populacije nekako vse prehranjuje nezdravo, ima nezdrav življenjski slog in s tem kar povzroča težave v njihovem vsakodnevnem življenju.
And I think this could be the reason. You love meat. And then I found another survey which was carried out just after the pandemic. It was looking at people's intentions about changing their diet. And the finding of this study was that it's not going to get better. If anything, it's going to get worse. And a lot of people are going to be drinking a lot more alcohol.
Ja, kot si povedal, COVID je še slabše vplival na celotno stvar, veliko še bolj je zmanjšana samo zdravo življenje in kot na koncu povedal, še bolj ga pijemo.
And if we looked at older people who often are affected by a lot of the conditions that we've looked at here, I found this study where it showed that the elderly, if you looked at the percentage of their diet that met the reference nutrient value, they only achieved 40% with things like vitamin A. Only 5% achieved the requirement of vitamin D. So as you get older, naturally your diet gets worse. And Often these individuals are highly medicated, and medications can impact upon the levels of things like vitamin D, for example. So this is just the intake from their diet. They didn't measure their levels in their blood. But as people get older, their diet does tend to get worse as well.
Ja, omenijo tukaj še posebej starejše, katere prehrana se je še bolj poslabšala. Podatki ne izvirajo iz same krvi, ampak iz same prehrane že potem, kar vnašajo v telo, nekako je premalo.
Now, I was amazed when I found this. This was a study in Slovenia, and it just brings home the data that we've been looking at today. So it was 89% of people in Slovenia consider their brain health to be important. In fact, over 50% deemed it to be the most important thing in life. So that just reinforces the sort of messages we've been talking about today. People knew what to do, so they knew that sort of testing themselves with cognitive challenges were important, but they're not doing it. Similarly, people knew that sleep was very important, but they're not pursuing healthy sleeping habits, and they're not getting enough sleep. Similarly, diet. People recognise that diet's important, but they're not simply pursuing that healthy diet that is important. You can see there, only 6% practice it every day. And which I think this is the thing that's most important. I'm so pleased that so many of you are here today, is that where do people go? Well, the highest rated information about brain health was from experts like yourselves. So it's really important to be able to communicate that message in terms of the things that people need to do. And although we've talked a lot today about product, it's about that holistic lifestyle that's important as well. And at Neubria, we very much encourage people to follow a holistic lifestyle. So, for example, with sleeping, we encourage people to practice good sleep hygiene. We encourage them to do relaxation techniques, breathing techniques, and things like that. So that's the sort of thing that we try to do to support people. It isn't just about getting them to take tablets, it's about them to pursue a holistic lifestyle as well.
Ja, povedal je, da vsi od nas vemo, kaj moramo delati, sam ne. Nekako in rekel pa, nekako njihova naloga je ne približati ljudem to neko zdrav življenjski slog, zdrav spanec, neke relaksacijske tehnike, ker vsi točno vemo, kaj bi mogli delati, ne? Ampak kako to približamo, kako to vključimo v naš življenjski slog.
And just a reminder that this is a journey through life that we're going on. So this whole need to have a healthy brain and a healthy mind is very important, because the more we look after it now, when you're Johnny's age, the more likely you are to have a healthy brain when you're my age. I don't know whether I have still got a healthy brain. I was tested today, and I was told I had a cardiovascular age of 46. So I was very pleased about that. And Johnny was 19.
Ja, kako je dal poudarek, da skrbimo za svoje telo zdaj, ne, da ga bomo imeli v poznejši starosti. On ima krvnožilni sistem 49-letnika, Johnny tukaj ga ima 19-letnika.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. I hope today we have demonstrated a reason why you should become part of the Neubria family. With sound science and also a demand in your market.
Ja, upam, da so danes pokazali, ne, zakaj bi postali del njihovega podjetja, zakaj bi uporabljali te njihove produkte. Yeah.
So why Neubria? It's an area of growing interest amongst healthcare professionals and general public.
Ja, samo področje raste trenutno, tako da je veliko šansa za nek razvoj, za širitev.
Robust formulations that deliver natural solutions to complex underlying pathologies for limiting wellness, and Synology is what really enables that, and that's what we own.
Kot smo že omenili, te njihove formulacije, ki kompleksne probleme ravno tako kompleksno napadajo, so robustne in znanstveno preverjene.
And our range offers a convenient and competitively priced, because I know it's a very price-driven market, solution for holistic health management.
in poudarjati nekako cenovno ugodno, ker seveda samo področje zna biti zelo drago in nekako, da je lažje vključiti v življenjski slog glede cenov.
All of the products that we have are manufactured to pharmaceutical standards. So we use the best manufacturing practices for our products, which will be very important for consumers.
Samo njihova proizvodnja je na najvišjem nivoju.
We are very forward thinking as a company. We are quite young as a company. We're sustainable with our glass bottles, which is obviously there's a growing demand for sustainability in the market. And we have proven clinical benefits, as Mike demonstrated with our sleep product.
Imajo mlado ekipo, vsi njihovi izdelki kot steklenice so reciklirani, se pravi sustainable. In z področja samega Majka, kar smo slišali, vse nekako je prava znanost, zadaj prava klinična, znanstveno preverjena dokaz.
So to just finish off, it's my mission. I'm quite young. I'm here to create a multi-generational brand for my kids to come in. I want to be the #1 wellness brand for mind and body, and this is only the start of our journey. So I hope you can join in with us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Meda. Thank you very much for your translation. It's very, very clever, man. It's very humbling coming to Slovenia and realizing how good all your English is and how bad my Slovenian is. I don't even know how to say thank you. But thank you very much, guys, and the Vital team. I'm really looking forward to growing this with you. Thank you.
Pravi hvala. Zdaj v nadaljevanju imamo pa še žrebanje. Ja. Tako da pri vhodu so dobili številko, zdaj bomo izžrebali 5 najboljših.
Eno tako vprašanje.
Ja, se res
Vprašanje.
Kako kombinirati, v bistvu lahko vse kombiniraš ali...
Okay, question.
Ja, jaz bom slovenščini, pa boš ti prevedel, Če mi priporočamo to strankam, kako kombinirati med sabo lahko tudi več različnih, ne vem, sleep, energy, memory, da jih lahko več naenkrat, odnosno kako to lahko delamo.
Okay. She's asking that if she's to recommend it to a customer, how if even is it like possible to mix different products together, like for memory, energy, etc.
Yes, so I've deliberately
They're compatible.
put the products together so that it's safe to take more than one at the same time. So it's like memory, mood, or whichever combination you might want to take. You wouldn't want to take them all at the same time. Clearly, the drift you would take in the evening, and the charge you would take during the day, in the morning rather. But they're also, you can take them all at the same time. You wouldn't overdose in anything. There's not huge doses of vitamins in there that might be contraindicated.
Ja, pravi, da pa če popolnoma možno vse te izdelke uporabljati, seveda ne vzameš vsega hkrati, za spanje vzameš bolj pozno zvečer, z energijo zgodaj zjutraj, ampak sama doza teh sestavin, ki so noter, ni nikjer blizu nekih toksičnih nivojev. Tako da je popolnoma možno uporabljanje vseh izdelkov. Še kakšno drugo vprašanje? Looks like no other questions. Tako da gremo mi nežrebali naprej.
Ja, zdaj. In which country?
In which country are you like present with your?
Yes, we started our international expansion only last year. We are now secured in Greece, Iceland, Netherlands, Slovenia, Bosnia, Kosovo, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. We've secured 10 countries in the first 5 months of this year, and we're growing very, very fast.
Okay, zadnje leto smo začeli s tem širjenjem po svetu, dobili v 5 mesecev 10 držav, vse od Islandije, Saudske Arabije, Egipta, Bosne, Nizozemske, Kosovo. Tudi prav malo to vso.
Super vprašanje, ja. Ima še kdo kakšno vprašanje? Se pa povabim mojo ekipo, ker jaz sama ne bi mogla vsega narediti z dobro ekipo, tako da Aleš, Nataša, Tatjana, ker priti sem. Jaz pa snimam. Živo. Vsak se ne odbere svoj del. Moram jaz to prvo. Bom telo, ker sem ga že probavali. Najprej ja.
Fokus sem uporabljam zdaj na cirka 3 tedne, mogoče 4. Moram reči, da vidite, imam očala, da po podanskem času nisem imela več toliko težav z vidom, da bi mogla jih skozi uporabljati, ko sem delala na računalniku. Nisem niti brala, zakaj je, ampak ko sem šla pol specifikacijo brati, ne bi tudi delovali malo na modro svetlobo, tako da pri meni je učinkovalo. Tukaj, odvisno od dneva.
In fokus dobi? Številka 9.
Kdo?
Ja,
tukaj.
Šuje.
Šuje.
Šel je.
Bravo.
Jaz sem 9.
Bravo!
Evo, fokus sta prav.
Fokus je evo.
Slišam. Ne moga uporabiti.
Hvala, Nataša.
Jaz pa testirala 2. 3. Jaz pa na sebi 2, pa na svojem človeku 3. Zame bolj pomembno memory, zato ker 40 plus, ampak še študiram, magistriri v univerzi, v inštituciji, pa službi, pa še potrebno je izpiti narediti. In sem začela mesec nazaj probati memory, pa potem občasno še mod. In jaz bi rekel, da deluje, zato ker moja koncentracija in šefico slišim, in Aleša slišim, in berem, in še esej pišem. To je res, za en mesec, pol približno sem začela, cirka en mesec. In nadaljujem, jaz pa že kupovala še eno, pa in nadaljujem. Žrebamo to, pa potem drugo.
Nademo naprej.
Pa tretji.
Memory. Ja. Dober spomin imel?
8.
8? Bravo!
To je vam?
Ja, da nam pozamo.
Ne.
Zakaj sem prišel?
Pa druga mod, to malo antidepresija, nekaj gospod je razlagal, pa tudi za procesiranje, to je za študiranje. To kot sem razumela, da večje kot Alzheimer, pa za pomnik, pa za procesi.
Depresija, zelo.
Ja, jaz pa tudi včasih depresivna, zato ker tam nisem naredila, ni spim in pa v tem ob 5 zbudim in kaj se mislim. Upam, da bo me pomagal. No?
Dobro razpoloženje bomo spravili številko 5.
Če se mene da.
Ja. No in tretja praksa, to je tretja praksa. kot jaz običajno rečem. Moj partner je običajno pride službe ali v soboto ali nedeljo, pa po kosilu obvezno 20 minut je potrebno zadremati, zanižiti.
To je normalno.
Ja, ko začeli piti energijo, je rekel, čez 2 tedna je rekel, zanimiv, ampak po kosilu že malo sem zaspal. In res, jaz pa tudi vidim, da sam 5 minut mogoče tako. In to je to, 20 ali 5 minut. Sem rekla, ok, boš nadaljeval, sem kupla in greva.
Dobro energijo ponuja številka 14.
Yes.
Evo, meni je ostalo spanje.
Sam jaz sem živela,
No ja, tudi skozi čas. Jaz imam poslal v koordinaciji prvotno, ne, da spim, dobro. Ja, zakaj je pomembno spanje? Telo se po noči regenerira, če po noči ne spimo, se telo ne regenerira in to lahko vodi v bolezen, ne? In slabo počutje, ne? Tako da sestavine so tukaj noter, sem jaz jemal posamezno, ne? Tako da verjetno veste, da vse pri nas pri vitalnem telesu delijo sinergijsko, po slovensko je sinergija, angleško pa sinologija, ne? Tako da tukaj not je sinologija, ali pa po slovensko sinergija, ne? Tako da ja, zdaj nam da bi posamezno imel, vzamem že eno škatlico, eno kapsulo tega, pa imam, ne?
Ampak smo razumeli, da ni pred spanjem, ampak...
Med spanjem.
Ja, ok.
Dobro bo spal nekdo, ki ima številko?
6.
Evo.
Very good. Boš med lekcije počival. To je študentje zaspali. To je študentje, boš zaspali. Dobro, dobro.
Pa šli smo do konca.
Ja,
Mogoče pa ni zanimaj.
Prišli smo do konca, lahko da ste se tukaj prišli. Thank you again for John and Mike for coming here to present us with your line of products. As you saw, everybody was really happy when they got their own box. Za vse tiste, ki vam imate kakšno vprašanje, se lahko obrnete na Mihelo. Tiste, ki znate angleško, vprašajte tukaj osebno Majka ali Johnja. On bodo rade volje na dolgo in široko razložili vse. Kot sem omenil, zadnji imamo prospekte, kamor je prevedeno vse sestavine, bolj podrobno o samih izdelkih. Seveda, zaključki vas povabimo na malo pogostitve in sam na koncu pa še ena pesem od naše prečudovite Estere.
Ja, še z moje strani najlepša hvala Blažu za čudovito vodenje. Hvala Johnnyju and Michael for opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
In hvala vsem, ki ste prišli in nas podpirate na naši poti. In hvala Esteri za čudovito petje, ki nas bo bila še malo razveselila. Hvala pa vse vabim bolj na en kozarček.
Nekomu le oddaljen glas, nekomu VitalnoTelo.si, ko mimo greš, nekomu le oddaljen glas, nekomu VitalnoTelo.si, ko mimo greš, poznaje sekundo tebe, ta sekunda mi je vzela. Srce tebe dala v svet. Zavedno letom sanjam ti, ker zdaj končno vem, komu dati srce in spet mi sije sonce v očeh. Našla sem, kar zamenja solze za smeh. Poznaj me, sekundo tebe, ta sekunda mi je vzela srce. Ker jaz padam, še vedno padam nate, še vedno letam zate in jaz padam, za sekundo tebe dala vse. Kot minuta s tabo minejo leta in jaz sem ti zavedno, tvoja sem zavedno. In jaz padam, še vedno. In jaz padam, za sekundo tebe dala vse. In jaz padam.